Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It's lovely to have you along for the ride, despite the fact that the Eagles decided to suck at football, especially in the last minute, 45 seconds of the game last night. That was awful. And I had every ounce of confidence after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson made that great play where he lost his helmet to stop the Falcons from converting and getting a whole other series. I had every bit of confidence that the Eagles were going to march down the field. They were going to score another touchdown. They were going to put the game out of reach for the Falcons, and then that would be it. It would be a breath of fresh air, and maybe the first time this season, and hopefully the first time in a long time where we would say they fouled a way to win the game. You know, that kind of thing. That really became the mantra of a very bad football team at the end of last year. But I just can't get over all the things that went wrong in this game. And we're going to run through it all. I'm going to give you my take on everything. We're going to go through the play-by-play. We're going to go through things the Eagles certainly could have done different for themselves to help their own cause. We're going to go through it all. And it ain't going to be fun because that is not a fun game to relive. Not even a little bit. Whether it's Saquon Barkley, whether it's Kellen Moore, whether it's Vic Fangio, whether it's a non-existent pass rush. And that, like, of all the things, like, I'm going to start it off with this. And it just, let me get this out of the way. I haven't watched a second of the Phillies from last night. They lost too. I'm not even going to get into that today, just as a warning. I know we always talk about both. Not today. I can't understand for the life of me how, and I talked about this yesterday, that a defense that had TJ Watt still only registered 2 sacks on Kirk Cousins. 2. So that had me a little bit on edge to see what this Eagles pass rush was going to do after not being able to get much going for themselves other than Zach Bond being able to get in the backfield and get Jordan Love. Other than that, they didn't really get much going. So I said, all right, well, I know this defense does not have TJ Watt. So are they going to get 2 sacks on Kirk Cousins? That's a little bit of a scary. They got 1, Milton Williams. I hate, and I said this on pregame yesterday, sometimes I try to stay away from a prediction just because it makes it seem like you think it's going to happen or you're rooting for it to happen. I was certainly rooting for it to happen, but I did not think in any way, shape, or form that Bryce Huff was going to have some kind of breakout game yesterday. I said, this is the game. Hey, this is the red carpet of opportunity rolled out in front of Bryce Huff. Vic Fangio actually played Bryce Huff 7% more, 7% snap increase from last week to this week. He played 52 snaps, 52% of the snaps, up from 45% last week. Okay, that's what he was up to in this game, and you never know it because he didn't even show up on the stat sheet. Didn't even show up in the box score. The only time I remember seeing Bryce Huff in this game, well, actually, like, do something at all noteworthy that like really caught my eye, other than seeing on a replay, is like, oh, there he is, pushed out of the play. Oh, there he is. Oh, they coughed on him and he fell over. Oh my goodness gracious. The only time was, I want to say it was the second or third Falcons possession in the game, and he goes over there and gets falls down, spins his wheels, and falls down in front of the left tackle. Right tackle. I thought that was okay. That's pretty much how this is going to go today. That's my feeling. I also looked at Nolan Smith, another guy that I'll make a prediction about, but not because I'm thinking it's going to happen, but just because I want it to happen. Didn't see anything from him. Didn't see anything from really anybody. The only 2 people that I really saw something from, it wasn't Jalen Carter, it wasn't Jordan Davis, wasn't Nolan Smith, wasn't Bryce Huff. Josh Sweat at least looked like he wanted to run around the field a little bit yesterday, but that was about it. Was the 2 guys that I actually saw the most from on that Eagles defensive line is one, Milton Williams, who actually had a really good move to get up the middle of the field and be able to get down Kirk Cousins for the only sack of the game. Had a great play, got the guard off balance, and made a great quick move to the inside and got right after Kirk Cousins. That was fantastic. And then the only other guy was Thomas Booker the 4th. I want to make sure I have my Roman numerals correct. I believe I do. Thomas Booker the 4th, who was out of football. You know what I'm saying? Finds his way onto the Eagles for training camp, earns himself a roster spot, plays well in the preseason, and then he goes out yesterday, makes a stop at the goal line, gets pressure in the backfield, and actually looked like, oh, look, is that the guy that, oh, no, that's not Jalen Carter. That's Thomas Booker the fourth. Oh, okay. Is that Jordan? Oh, that's not Jordan Davis. That's Thomas Booker the fourth. He and Milton Williams, you're essentially third and fourth string guys, if you want to call it that, on the depth chart, whatever. Those were the guys that were making the biggest impact in yesterday's game. There was one instance where I saw Jordan Davis really do something, and that was when he got his hand up in the air to deflect a pass from Kirk Cousins in the early goings of the game that I was hoping would fall down in the hands of Jacoby Dean, who was in the vicinity, but it wasn't going to make the play. This game was so frustrating from that standpoint because going into it, you knew the assignment. You knew what the target was. The target was Kirk Cousins, who's going to be right around where he's going to be when he takes the snap in shotgun. And could anybody other than Milton Williams actually get to him yesterday? Nope. Now, the other side of that, aside from the pass rush. So is this just going to be it? 150 yards every week on the ground? Is this just going to be? Is that how it's going to go? I really applauded Nick Sirianni earlier in the week for acknowledging Bijan Robinson as a guy that has a lot of skills and a lot of similarities to a guy like Saquon Barkley, for instance. And he said when they were scouting him, and even before they made the trade for Saquon Barkley, they were just scouting Bijan last year. One of the things they were looking at with him was, oh, wow, this guy, he's really quick. Oh, he's really fast. Oh, he can catch. Oh, he can run. He's strong. Okay, so you know how good he was. And he still averaged 7.2 yards per carry in the first half. Holy pots and pans. You just let him go do whatever he wanted in the first half of yesterday's game. Nobody was stopping him. Nobody was plugging holes. Linebackers weren't coming up. I know the stat sheet. Look, the stat sheet might look sexy to some people, but there's just some things that you can look at the stat sheet. And look, I know I just brought it up with Bryce Huff, but when you look at the guys that did, I hate to use the term padding the stats, but we do look at what Jacoby Dean yesterday, 7 tackles, I believe it was. Zach Bond, I think, had 8 tackles yesterday. Like, you look at that stuff and they really did the tackle. Okay, fine. But where are the tackles in the backfield? Where are the tackles at the line of scrimmage? Where are the linebackers making plays in those instances? Because the guys that I was looking at week 1, Zach Bond looked similar to that guy. The stat sheet wasn't as padded, obviously. Jacoby Dean didn't look like the same guy. I thought week 1, okay, something to build off of. There we go, young fella. He was getting pushed around yesterday, left and right. He did not have that same pursuit yesterday. He had a penalty also in this game. Zach Bond, as I mentioned, he was able to get some tackles, but was not the same threat you saw in this game. And I asked Seth Joyner during the pregame yesterday, when you have a guy like Zach Bond go off, and again, I mentioned this to you guys as well. Zach Bond he's got 30 tackles is the most tackles he's ever had in a season. He had 15 week 1 against the Packers. Okay. How is this just going to be what we're going to expect from Zach Bond and Seth Joyner, linebacker himself? Why not? Why wouldn't this be what we expect now? Vic Fangio found this guy and he applauded him from the jump. He essentially had him as a starting linebacker while we were all questioning what was going to happen with Devin White, while we were questioning what might happen with Jacoby Dean. Zach Bond's been the guy. Like, that's just who it's been, in Vic Fangio's mind, at least. And when you talk about Vic Fangio's phrase of separating yourself, Zach Bond seems to have separated himself from the rest of the pack. So he goes into yesterday's game, and unfortunately, Zach Bond, Jacoby Dean, anybody for the most part on the Eagles' defensive line went out there and just didn't get it done, especially in that first half. The first half for me was all about not stopping the run. Not applying pressure, sure, but they ran the football a lot. It was 10 carries in the first half, if I'm not mistaken, with Zach Bond, or excuse me, with Bijan Robinson, and 72 yards. So, yeah, that's pretty good. The second half for me was all about the passing game and how nobody in the Eagles secondary could do anything to stop Kirk Cousins, especially in that final possession for the Falcons, not including their kneel down after Jalen Hurts' interception. But for me, when I look back on this game, you had an opportunity here to not even be an overly aggressive defense. Like, I didn't expect Vic Fangio to just all of a sudden turn a page and all of a sudden, oh, he's the most aggressive defensive coordinator now because he's facing Kirk Cousins. It would have been a good opportunity to do it. And not just one blitz here from Jacoby Dean, one blitz there from Zach Bond. Like, actually, maybe, possibly send 6. Oh, Kirk Cousins is going to pick you apart. Yeah, not if you're blitzing right up the middle against him and you're in his face, and then he's got to rely on mobility because he looked mighty comfortable. And the play that he perhaps looked most comfortable on was the game winner to Drake London. And I know yesterday, after the game, Darius Slay, when I was addressing the media about the play, I give him a lot of credit. He took all responsibility. Good for him. He didn't make excuses. He said he got caught looking in the backfield. If you take it literally, the only person in the backfield was Kirk Cousins. There was nobody else. It was empty after that. All right. After snap, I think it was Bijan ran into the flat, empty backfield. I don't know. He's looking at Kirk Cousins. I thought maybe he thought he was going to throw the underneath route. To me, just watching the play live without knowing anything that he said afterwards, it just looked like Drake London faked him out of his pants. And then Darius Slay had to go over and pick up his pants, and then he had to go off the field because he just allowed the game-winning touchdown. That's what it looked like to me. When I went back and watched it again after hearing what he said, you definitely see him glancing into the backfield. He also said that what the Falcons had done from what he had seen on film, the film dictated that they were going to run the basically an inside in route and then an outside in route, basically, and like a stacked route there. And they obviously didn't do that. Drake London faked him out of his pants, and that was that. But yeah, the first thing I look at is the first half run defense, second half pass defense. And I know a lot. I went into this game. My prediction was 27-17. The Eagles would win this game. AJ Brown not being in this game matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I think if AJ Brown does play in this game, it's a blowout because he's one of the, as many people said after the game, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And he certainly makes up for some mistakes that the Eagles made in this game. For instance, if A.J. Brown has that ball in his hands in the second quarter, I think it was, and not Devontae Smith, I don't think that ball is getting smacked out of his hands at the goal line. I think it's a touchdown. Maybe you have another red zone target in the other failed opportunities you had in the red zone. But for me, A.J. Brown is not dropping those balls. A.J. Brown is coming up with that. Maybe A.J. Brown's getting that ball on the 3rd and 3 before they kick the field goal for their final points of the game. A.J. Brown certainly would have a better odds of holding on to those footballs. I agree, I think. But here's the bottom line. Devontae Smith is still a pretty damn good wide receiver. He needs to come up with that football. Saquon Barkley. If you're telling me you're putting the game in the hands of Saquon Barkley, I feel pretty good about that. Saquon Barkley, to his credit, after dropping that what would have been a game-sealing reception, said that he let the team down. He catches that ball, they win the game, and he's right. I think it's a lot of revisionist history for people that want to say, just keep running the football. You go and you go for it on 3rd and 3 with Saquon Barkley up the middle. You get a yard or two. You go up a 4th down again. You're bleeding the clock. You have a situation there where the Atlanta Falcons have no more timeouts. You're taking that play clock way down. And then the Falcons got to go the rest of the field, the whole field, even if you turn it over on downs. The Falcons right there, you know what they do? They got to go the length of the field. Well, that was pretty easy. They did it in a minute and a half. So that was pretty quick. And that was with some time to kill. They did it with a minute and a half. For me, if you're telling me that you're putting the ball or you're giving the ball to Saquon Barkley, even on a pass, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think it's a lot of revisionist history going on right now. And I know the numbers. I know the Next Gen Stats had the numbers out there. For those that didn't see it, it was at Next Gen Stats. If they kick the field goal, the probability goes from 90, which they did. It drops from 94% win probability to 85% win probability, depending on what analytics department you want to go with or what analytics outlet you want to go with. To me, I think a lot of people are going on hindsight. And also, they're looking at Nick Sirianni for this. I thought Nick Sirianni's job was like decide to go whether or not to go for it on fourth down. That's a Kellen Moore play call. So everyone's looking at Nick Sirianni right now. Nick Sirianni, let's not forget, okay? I know the Eagles were 1-0 at the time and all, but let's not forget that Nick Sirianni was neutered, and he's the rah-rah guidance counselor of the team, and Kellen Moore is calling the plays. That's Kellen Moore's call. Nick Sirianni is not making that play call. So why is Kellen Moore then throwing it so many people are piling on Nick Sirianni. Don't get me wrong. I wanted Nick Sirianni fired at the end of last year. Don't make no mistakes about this. This is not hey, let's defend Nick Sirianni party, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make sure we're pulling focus on the right person that deserves a good amount of the blame here. Kellen Moore decides to throw that football. If you're telling me you're throwing to Saquon Barkley again, I feel pretty damn good about it. Then you go the other route. All of a sudden, people want to be analytical about it. Be like, well, 94% to 85%. If you kick the field goal, it's going to drop. Okay. So let's say you go for it. You run the football. You don't ice the game. You don't get the touchdown. You don't get the first down. You turn it over on downs. It looked pretty easy. And now, by the way, for the people that want to argue about whether or not you give the football to them on the 2-yard line or the 30-yard line, let's not forget that then they would, if you don't get that touchdown, all they need then is a field goal. So I understand why they would want to go for it in that situation in terms of throwing the football. To me, that's not what grinds my gears about this game. If you want to look at coaching more than anything, my coaching blame goes more so on the defensive side of things than it does the offensive side of things. For me, the Kellen Moore offense, they had the ball in the end zone twice. They had two huge opportunities. They had the ball in the red zone, deep in the red zone, on the goal line once. They had the ball in the red zone right there to ice the game in Saquon Barkley's hands, and he couldn't corral the pass. That, to me, is a pretty damn good job to be in that position. Seems like players let you down. I don't know what it is about. I seem to be in the minority of this. I look at players usually before I look at anything else, especially when it's as obvious as dropped footballs. I don't think Saquon Barkley's going to drop too many of those. And a game on the line situation, he drops it. Not great. The extension he had for his touchdown was incredible. Being able to get that ball, for the 2-point conversion, being able to get that ball across the goal line, fantastic. That helped the Eagles out a bunch. Devontae Smith dropping that ball. One of the things we forget about with Devontae Smith is coming out of college, we were all talking about, oh my God, is he going to be strong enough? Is he going to be strong enough to hold on to that football? The Slim Reaper of football. Is he going to be strong enough? Is he going to have some man hands and hold on to that football? That was not an example of him holding on to the football. And he's great, and I love him. But that's an example right there where you got to hold on to that football. And he didn't in that situation. If it comes down to coaching, who am I blaming? Who am I more pissed off at? That would be Vic Fangio. More than I'm pissed off at Nick Sirianni, and more than I'm pissed off at Kellen Moore. I thought, my thought after the game was fool's gold. We were sold some fool's gold after week 1 and a little bit of the preseason, even though I try not to really buy into anything I see in the preseason. But hey, more aggressive Vic Fangio. He's sending some linebackers. He's blitzing a little bit. Look at this guy being aggressive. I didn't see that yesterday. I didn't see the guy that I saw in week 1. Where was that guy? And then here's the other thing. When the players weren't getting home and you weren't generating pressure, where was the adjustment? Where was the, okay, this is plan B. Where's the plan C? Where was any of that? You were supposed to have this, and quite frankly, did have this statue sitting back there in the pocket with a big old slab of meat hanging around his neck, and none of your savage predators could get after him. After Vic Fangio, I mean, a guy that I look at that wasn't, well, he was on the field in the fourth quarter, at least. I saw him on the sidelines there. Howie Roseman. Bryce Huff is a bust. We talked all off season about Bryce Huff and whether or not he is ready for this promotion. Is Bryce Huff ready for this promotion of more responsibility, being in on passing and running downs and doing it all and all that? Yeah. Is he ready for that? The answer to that question is no. He is not at all anywhere near ready for the promotion that the Eagles gave him that is anywhere near worth 3 years north of $50 million. Nowhere near it. And it was funny. Seth kept on slipping. I kept on slipping, calling, we'll get to Britton Covey as well. I kept on calling him Dylan Covey, who's a Phillies reliever, former Phillies reliever. But anyway, I actually think he started a couple games. But anyway, he kept on calling him Bryce Huff, Josh Huff, which is hilarious because Josh Huff also didn't show up on the Eagles box score yesterday either. So they still have that in common. A couple other odds and ends from yesterday's game. And this is hindsight as well, but if you look at this, Britton Covey, out-targeted in a game without A.J. Brown. First, let's just talk about this. Dylan Covey was your second wide receiver. What? In a game without A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith moved up to 1. We all assumed Jahan Dotson would move up there to like the number 2 target. No. Britton Covey was the second targeted wide receiver. Britton Covey was targeted more than Jahan Dotson and Dallas Goedert combined in this game. Oh! I feel like I'm on crazy. Like, if you would have told me that before the game, I would have thought, okay, well, Dallas Goedert's going to get it. In a game without A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert's going to get at least like 7 targets, 8 targets, maybe. Nope. No, I think he had 4. And one of them was in the red zone on a play, by the way, that he was interfered with, but it wasn't called. And the Eagles, and that was actually the 4th down play when they decided to not kick the field goal and go for it. That's on Nick Sirianni. That I will say he made the wrong decision on. You don't know the way the game's going to go. Just take the points, babe. Just take the points. But back to Britton Covey. I'm shocked that he got more targets. And then I found myself at the end of the game going, he should have had one more target. Because at the end of the game, when Jalen Hurts threw his only interception, he threw it far too deep down the field. He was looking for Devontae Smith. He had Britton Covey right there to make the reception, decided to air it out. The Jalen Hurts decision-making in that particular instance, I will also call it unwise. We'll get to that. But I'm just surprised that Britton Covey had as many targets as he did in the game yesterday. More than Jahan Dotson, more than Dallas Goedert. Just bonkers to me. That was weird. As far as other play calls went, let's start it off with the Eagles' first possession. Offensively speaking, the Eagles faced a 3rd and 9. Some of this made me feel like the Eagles were trying to right some wrongs from last week against the Packers. So the Eagles, again, were in their own territory. They weren't backed up against their own red zone by any means like they were in their first possession in week 1. But they face a 3rd and 9. Instead of trying to do anything fancy, they just call a quarterback draw on 3rd and 9. Okay. They don't get anything with it. They have to punt. Great. Then Atlanta has 2 first downs, and they got a punt. Eagles get the ball back, and this is where they start their first decent-looking drive of the game. They start at their own 36, and they're able to walk it all the way up there to the 4-yard line. They face the 1st and 10. Gainwell goes up the middle for 4 yards. All right. Then another 1st and 10. That's for a first down, by the way. He goes up the middle for another 2 yards. That's good. It's now 3rd and 4. Jalen Hurts rolls to his left, throws in the back of the end zone, and it's almost intercepted. Fortunately, it wasn't, but it was a questionable decision. So now you face a 4th and 4. They call a timeout. Jalen Hurts rolls to his right, buys time, broken play. Instead of kicking the field goal, which they should have done, just take the 3 points, they go for it. I'm not surprised they did it. I don't like that they did it. He targets Dallas Goedert, who gets pushed from behind. No call is made. Both Dallas Goedert and Jalen Hurts are having their hands up in the air like, what's the deal? Why even do that? Where's the call? No call's made. I believe the wrong call was made in terms of not calling pass interference, and I also believe the wrong play call was made in terms of not just kicking the field goal. And this is something that the Eagles have done, being aggressive and analytics and all that stuff. And if you caught post-game last night, then you know that we were talking about how Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni have the analytics guys right there on their hip. And they can just push a button and be like, what are the odds? What's the percentages? What do I do? Okay. And I guess the percentages said, you go for the touchdown. That's what they did. Instead of just taking the 3 points, which obviously mattered a little bit by the time the end of the game rolled around. So then the game goes back. The ball goes back to the Falcons. Mitchell almost has that near pick. Quentin Mitchell almost has that near pick on the bottom of the screen, the near sideline, if you will. Can't rip it out of the hands of Drake London. Well, he's did, so it wasn't incompletion, but can't corral it to make it an interception. Second quarter felt like the Jalen Hurts show more than anything. Eagles had that great touchdown drive, go up 7-3. At the end of that drive, that was 11 plays, 70 yards, 6 minutes and 7 seconds ticked off the clock. Barkley was great on that one. Hurts was the guy that, like I said, was the star of the show. 47 yards rushing on that drive there in the second quarter to get the Eagles up 7-0, or 7-3, excuse me. Then, unfortunately, some of the games began with the Eagles secondary. They let the Falcons engineer a long drive. They get down in the scoring field goal range. They kick the field goal, making a 1-point game, 7-6. That was the drive that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson pulled the mouth guard off of Ray McLeod's face mask. Nothing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson hasn't done before, by the way. Did it against Javon Wims, I believe it was, of the Bears, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 years ago. And that didn't end well. That ended with Wims taking a full-blown swing at the head of C.G. Deuce. Unlike Ray McLeod, who just kind of looked like, pshaw. Like, he threw a punch, but it wasn't with the same vigor that you saw from Wims a couple years ago. But anyway, it ends up being great because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson baits him into getting the personal foul. It pushes them back a wee bit, but they're still able to get the field goal on the drive. Brandon Graham also was called for a face mask on that one, and that was pretty blatant. But bend but don't break. They get all the way down to the 4-yard line, and the Eagles are able to make the stop, and that was that. Then the Falcons come out after halftime. They're able to go down the field, get another field goal. They go up 9-7. Another instance there, Eagles got the ball back. They marched down the field. They were able to get to they faked the fake field goal. They ran Jake Elliott out to the left. Unfortunately, that was that. That was the situation on the 3rd and 3. Eagles have an opportunity right there to go up 14-9. Instead, they got to take just the 3 points after Smith dropped the ball. Bates broke it up in the end zone. That's the one that I'm a little critical of, say the least. Also on that drive, Matthew June on a stack for -4 yards. He got Jalen Hurts. I think we talked about him yesterday. Be ultra aware of where he's going to be. Eagles in all able to put together an 11-play, 59-yard drive there. Cousins comes back, gets the touchdown to Mooney. That's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson blowing the coverage, missing the tackle. It then becomes a 15-10 game in favor of the Falcons. Going to the fourth quarter, and this is where all hell breaks loose. Really thought the Eagles won the game here. When they went up 18-15, this is what went into it. Britton Covey, of all people, 4-yard reception on a broken play. Gets another reception for a yard. Barkley gets a 3-yard reception. 3rd and 6. Smith gets a 5-yard reception. 4th and 1. Push. Push through. They get the first down on 4th and 1. 1st and 10. Barkley gets a 4-yard gain. They go back to Covey for a 4-yard reception. Hurts breaks one loose on a 3rd and 2 for a 12-yard gain. 1st and 10. Barkley for 9. Hurts gets him another yard. 1st and 10 from the 14. Barkley gets 8 yards, but it's called back. Johnny Wilson with the hold. Don't worry, we're going to get to the penalties. Then it goes to the 1st and 16 from the 18-yard line. Hurts scrambles for 12 on a quarterback draw, called or designed quarterback draw. 2 blockers out in front, plowing the way for him. 2nd and 4, Barkley runs right for a yard. 3rd and 3, Barkley gets a catch for 2 yards. And then 1st and goal from the 1, Hurts goes up the middle for the touchdown. And then they decide to go for 2, and rightfully so. That's what you do there. And this was a great play by Saquon Barkley. Extending that hand under the would-be tackler across the goal line for a successful 2-point conversion. Eagles go up 18-15. Their defense comes up huge on a 3rd and 9. On a 4th down, 4th and short. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson comes barreling up the middle. This is why I love Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The whole game, you're waiting for somebody to come up with a big play, a big stop. You did get 1 or 2 there from Milton Williams. You got 1 from Milton Williams on the sack. You got at least 3 or 4 from Thomas Booker the 4th. He was pretty damn good in this game. But you're waiting for somebody from the secondary to actually come up and make a play. If it's not going to be a turnover, stuff it. And what do you get from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? Well, you get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson barreling up the middle of the field, gets to the line of scrimmage, and he absolutely plugs Bijan Robinson. Turnover on downs. Eagles get the ball. Pick it up at the 39-yard line. They immediately don't do themselves any favors with the Landon Dickerson penalty. He got called for a holding penalty, unfortunately. A lot of offensive line penalties. In total, the Eagles, 9 penalties to the Falcons, 3 is the way that worked out. But the Eagles are really trying to ice this game, and it just seems like it gets more and more difficult as the game goes on. It was a 4th and 1. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson makes the hit, loses his helmet. Eagles get the ball back. 1st and 10 at the 39. Holding call on Landon Dickerson. Saquon Barkley gets stuffed. It's now 2nd and 18. They finally remember that Dallas Goedert plays on their team. He gets a 16-yard reception. Then it's a 3rd and 2 situation from the Atlanta 31-yard line. Hurts gets the 1st down throw to Saquon for 4 yards. 1st and 10 from the Atlanta 27 now. Barkley gets stuffed. Next carry, he gets 9 yards. Your 3rd and 1 from the Atlanta 18. You get a penalty on Catavius Street. We hardly knew you here in Philadelphia. He gets the encroachment call. They decline it. Get the 2-minute warning. Atlanta has to burn a timeout. Barkley gets a 4-yard gain on a 1st and 10, sets up the 2nd and 6. Fred Johnson reports as eligible. Barkley gets you 3 more yards, and then there's 2 timeouts burned in that sequence. Atlanta calls their 3rd and final timeout. Eagles call their 1st timeout of the second half. 3rd and 3 from the Atlanta 10. This is where the controversy again comes in. Hurts drops back, hits Saquon Barkley in stride, who drops the ball. I feel like people are only going to be on one side of this or the other. There's no down the middle with this kind of call. You either go, oh, you totally put the ball in Saquon Barkley's hands in that situation. I have no problem with them passing the football. Or you just keep running the football and you milk the clock. That's where you're at. For me, I think a lot of it, again, is revisionist history. You could get stuffed up the middle. I am more expecting the Falcons stuffing Saquon Barkley in the middle of the field than I am Saquon Barkley dropping the ball on the outside. He catches that ball, the game's over. I trust Saquon to make that catch. Now you do that, there's about 45 seconds left in the game. You bleed the clock down to a little bit more than a minute. You kick the field goal, you give them the ball back. Or excuse me, you either you run it again, you run on the 3rd and 3, assuming you don't get it. Bleeds the clock down to around a minute. Run it again. It's a turnover. Or you kick the field goal. For me, Saquon catches the ball. That's that. Then the thing that really, it was just too damn easy to go down the field on the ensuing possession. Atlanta, of course, gets the ball at the 30-yard line, their own 30-yard line. They need a touchdown. Cousins, right out of the gate, 11 yards to Pitts. Hello, Kyle Pitts, fellow Archbishop Wood graduate. Another 1st and 10 now from the Atlanta 41. Cousins hits Mooney like it was nothing, 21 yards. Then next thing you know, you got a 26-yard gain. Back to Mooney. London gets pushed out of bounds after a 5-yard gain. The only incomplete pass was on the 2nd and 5 from the Eagles' 7-yard line. And the only incomplete pass that I almost wish it just would have happened, like the touchdown felt like it was inevitable. Avonte Maddox, who just had come back in the game after missing a brief moment there with a back injury, comes back onto the field and holds Ray McLeod's left hand against his hip. No call. No call. They live to fight another down. The 3rd and 5 comes up. Cousins hits London for the touchdown. They convert. They make the point after. Eagles are now down a point. They need to get down the other end of things for a touchdown. Now, I know some people might look at this and just say, well, it's the end of the game and Jalen Hurts is just trying to create something. He's trying to make something happen. If that's the line of thinking, no, absolutely not. Jalen Hurts trying to win a football game. Eagles have a timeout still. Excuse me, 2 timeouts still in their back pocket. You have something to fight for, something to play for. Eagles get the ball back. They're on their own 30-yard line, of course, after the touchback. They hit Dallas Goedert for a 13-yard gain. You move it up to the 43-yard line. Remember, Jake Elliott's got that crazy leg, man. Just get him into field goal range. And Jalen's decision-making returns back to unwise decisions, okay? The unwise decision Jalen Hurts made, there's a couple. One, the easiest play to make with this final play that ended up being the interception to Bates is Saquon Barkley is in the flat. Once you see, I think it was Matthew Judon get around the corner, get around the edge, you either spike that ball at Saquon Barkley's feet or you hit Saquon Barkley in the belly, hope he can I think it was a linebacker coming down on the play, hope he can make that guy miss, or he just gets tackled right away, call timeout. Either way, you're still fighting to play. At that point, there'd be about 22 seconds left. That's still plenty of time with one more timeout still remaining that you have to make another play and get downfield. Live to play another day. Maybe you get out of bounds. Maybe you scramble out of bounds. Maybe something like that happens. You get in a field goal range for Jake Elliott, which isn't that difficult to do. And for whatever reason, Jalen Hurts, again, made the worst decision possible. And he just aired it out downfield. Looking for Devontae Smith, who was the deep man, and overlooking Britton Covey, who was the underneath man. And by the way, he hits him in stride. Covey goes right out of bounds. And he stopped the clock, and you still have that timeout in your back pocket. So let's review the options one more time. There was just spike the ball, live to fight another day at the feet of Saquon Barkley, so it's not intentionally grounding. Okay, that's a better decision than, heaving it into triple coverage. Then the other one is put it in the belly of Saquon. All right, I don't like it as much because the clock would run. You would have to use a timeout. All right, do that. Maybe Saquon makes the guy miss. I don't know. Maybe he gets out of bounds and you don't have to. But here's what I know. We will never know what could have happened there. But I do know it's a better decision. Number 3, the best possible decision. Hit Britton Covey in stride, and he just catches it, and he goes out of bounds. You stop the clock. The worst possible decision, throw the deep ball to Devontae Smith, where Bates is just lurking for that football. And what did Jalen Hurts do? He made the worst possible decision. Well, I guess the worst possible decision would just been got the snap and just held the ball and just held it out. That would have probably been worse. That probably would have been the worst decision possible because that gives you no chance. Putting the ball in the air, at least, I don't know, gives you half a chance. I don't know what the analytics are. But in that moment, that was the worst decision he could have made. He got away with one earlier in the red zone. Every quarterback's going to have a moment where, that ball was in peril. The precious pigskin was in peril. It happens. But at the end of the game, when you're trying to make something happen, don't force something that you don't have to force. And that's what he did with 3 better options out there. Not good, Jalen. So that just looks at that play. Again, for me, the number one person I look at in this game is, when it comes to coaching, is Vic Fangio, and how easy it was to slice down that field. Again, 70 yards, 6 plays in 1 minute and 5 seconds. Yeah, that's fun. And then after I look at Vic Fangio and how his defense was running this game, I look at Devontae Smith having the ball knocked out of his hands. I look at Saquon Barkley dropping that ball. I know it's fun for a lot of people just to look at coaches, but I do also look at players. Saquon Barkley was put in the right position to make a play. He didn't make the play. Simple as that. Let me know where you guys are at that in the chat. Here's the bottom line. Eagles lost a game and a great opportunity to improve to 2-0. The Saints look like a pretty damn good football team this year. Not taking that game lightly. Tampa Bay Buccaneers look like they could be a pretty good football team this year. I'm not taking that game lightly, and the Eagles are going on the road after this. After 2 home games, 1 home game, Eagles are going on the road. Big opportunity. I will say all the not drama, but all the festivities that went into yesterday, man, that was fun. From the fans being out there at 5 a.m., roasting pigs, roasting an alligator? What? To Jason Kelsey and the intro to Monday Night Countdown, I believe it was, yeah. Where he knocks on the door and Big Dom answers it, and they hand him a South Philly tuxedo. Let me just tell you this. For my Irish friends, seeing Jason Kelsey wearing an Italian seal on his Italian shield on his jogging suit, South Philly tuxedo, quote unquote, big victory for me last night. Slancha. Nick Foles, the press conference, everything that he did before the game, it was awesome. It was all set up to be a huge party. And the party pooper, unfortunately, was when the Eagles started playing football, especially in that fourth quarter. Let me know where you guys are at in terms of your blame game for this Eagles squad. Oh, wait, I just opened the chat, and this is the first thing I see. Let me just address this. Is Nolan Smith still a steal? I just want to be clear on something, and I'm not saying you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying that at all there, Jack Dwight. I've been out on Nolan Smith since, like, before it was cool, okay? Before it was trendy, all right? Now I'm going to start to cheer for Nolan Smith. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like a hipster. Now that it's popular to do it, I'm going to be like, nah, that's not cool. I'm going to start doing the opposite. But, yeah, I said well into this past offseason that Nolan Smith is, if I'm the Eagles, he's not my immediate plans to count on as an impact player for the upcoming season. And Vic Fangio's already identified him, and rightfully so. I think everyone knows at this point. Nolan Smith is just a speed guy. Bryce Huff's just a speed guy. Well, those speed guys are non-existent against the statue, Kirk Cousins. All right. Before I get in the rest of the chat, let me just tell you guys about the great people at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Download the MyBookie app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get up to, oh my goodness gracious, get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. How about the incredible Game Time app? Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase. Want to go to the game? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Phillies are going to be back in town in about a week. Do you want to go to the last Phillies homestand? The Game Time app is where it's at. Download the Game Time app to get your tickets. Use promo code Farzy to get $20 off your first purchase. They also have last-minute ticket deals, flash ticket deals. They even have ticket deals for an hour after the event starts. So the next event you want to go to, the next game you want to go to, download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, F-A-R-Z-Y, and get $20 off your first purchase right there at the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check now officially and see how you guys are doing on a real crappy Tuesday morning. Daniel, hello. IBH, hello. Grim, not taking the field goal. Saquon drop. Ben, don't break defense. Actually broke. Grim, Correct. Hitting us up on old Twitter there. Mullet, how are you? Cheeriani and not so Cheerio morning. Very true. QB, what's up, QB? Good morning, y'all. Good morning, QB. A lot of the good mornings here. Sean Gillespie, Goat James. So much for having Vic Fangio. I think Seth summed it up really well last night. I love what he had to say. He goes, "This is the Vic Fangio that we were expecting," and it is. Nick Sirianni sucks. Yeah, that's why he was soft fired at the end of last year. QB, he was on a freight train. It was crazy. Lackluster, no excuses. That was ridiculous, even if the Falcons are better than expected, Sean Gillespie. Go Sixers. Sean, New Year, same bad decisions. Oh, Katie Brewis, you're in Italy and you got the bad news this morning that the Eagles lost? Where are you in Italy? Bon voyage. Are you on vacation or you live there? Either way, I'm honored to have someone in Italy watching the show. Joe Spags, what's up? Expect for us to get blown out on Sunday. 1 o'clock start time down there in New Orleans. Sirianni, amazingly, the Eagles' arrogance. Remember when everyone thought Jalen was a star? Or Jalen Carter was a star, excuse me. Yeah, that hasn't gone well. C Love, we getting packed up Sunday, I truly believe. Jack Dwight's back. Maybe Fangio needs to separate himself from the rest. Not impressed. I agree. All right. I really, C Love, not at you, but everyone that apologizes for their opinion, stop apologizing for your opinion. Don't need to say I'm sorry. There was no quarterback coddling on this show. I remember ripping Carson Wentz, and people were like, you can't rip Carson Wentz. You can't acknowledge the fact that he missed a red zone target. You can't do that. I'm like, really? Because he's a quarterback in the NFL. I thought he could do that. Just like, look, they're not even in this game without Jalen Hurts yesterday. Jalen Hurts was great up until certain moments. The last throw he made, the near pick in the red zone. Jalen Hurts should have had possibly three touchdown receptions yesterday. Devontae Smith had one. He could have had one with Saquon Barkley. If you make somebody miss, you at least extend the play. And then the other is the drop pass. At the very least, two touchdown receptions yesterday. Latoya Smith? I don't like you. Oh, that's a shocked look. Okay. CJGJ's a bum. Philly Eagle 843. Defense just stood back and let Atlanta do whatever they wanted. No pressure at all. Yeah, they went into that like prevent defense that yeah. Like, hey, come on right down the field. Prevent defense that prevents your team from winning. Oh, JJ, gutted Aussie Birds fan here. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, was in the bag and they dropped it. Saquon and Jalen were good though. Can't blame them, but shouldn't throw it, even though it was a sitter. He dropped. Just run it. Okay. Rawson found. Great name. I never thought a part-time Jets player would be the. That's the best way to sum that up. This part-time Jets player, he's going to be the guy that's going to be the difference. What are you, insane? Luis Horeta, what's happening? Pinch fourth down in the first quarter. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bobby Murphy. The Fangio defensive scheme. Complete garbage. It's not bend, don't break. It's bend and still break. Robert M. This team blows. Sirianni needs to be fired. He kind of was. Like Vic Fangio. Nick Sirianni said after the game that he's the head coach. Kellen calls the plays. Kellen's in charge of the offense. Like, it was a subtle jab, but I assume he's still, even if Nick Sirianni is saying go for it on the fourth down in field goal range, in the first quarter, I think it's still Kellen Moore calling the play. And then at the end of the game, Kellen Moore calls the play. 3rd and 4, the rollout to Saquon Barkley in the flat. That's Kellen Moore. That's not Nick Sirianni. Because remember, Nick Sirianni has been stripped of play calling and game planning. Isn't that funny? And he's still here. It's wild. He's a hell of a guidance counselor, though. Hell of a guidance counselor. Eagles fan. Bryce Hush, not Huff. I like it. Perfect 0 because he doesn't do ish. True. Tate Jeffries, hello. This is a mess we thought we were getting after Sirianni's first press. Wow. First press conference coming back. Sean Kilrain, you see Jalen Hurts, Jordan Davis sucking on the ox. I did see that. I went, I told Gunner, he was sitting right across me. I go, that's not a good look. That's how this best shape of his life. My arsh. Sean Kilrain, I blame the coaching staff on this loss. Anyone agree or disagree? I blame Fangio's defense above anything else. And then I blame the drops. That's what I look at. What are we looking at here? Don Sandcastle, great line. D-line on the milk carton this morning. Not great. QB, yeah, I'm nervous about the Saints game. Real RMP, run the friggin' football. Oh, you're talking about the Saquon Barkley play that he dropped, running instead? Fair. Fair to quite fair. Shayna Moon. That's a great name. The way the Eagles are playing and looking at their next 2 games on the road might be 1-3 going into the bye week. Need better play calling decisions in critical time. I agree. Devontae. I want to give a big shout out to Fangio on his no blitzing abilities and the players not fighting for pressure. Okay. Philly, explain, I don't understand what has been overreacting about this. Like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like everything I am saying, there is not one hot take I have offered. Everything is fully justified about this game, which is what we're judging. I don't understand anyone that looks at a game like this after a loss and says, people are overreacting. Or are they just appropriately reacting? T-Bro, just vomit emojis. I agree. Devontae, I agree. What's the point of getting Dotson if you're not going to use him? Henry crying emoji. Are you an Eagles fan? What's happening? Seriously, where was Hurts' legs for the last year and a half until yesterday? He looked healthy out of nowhere. That was great. That was the most burst I've seen from Jalen Hurts in quite some time. Oh, okay. Thank you, Philly. Not you, Farzy. Everyone else is only week 2. Yeah, but I think it's pretty justified. A lot of it. I mean, the fire Sirianni stuff. I mean, talk about things like I was out on Nolan Smith before anybody. I was out on Nick Sirianni before it was trendy. No, but it was a soft firing at the end of last year. And now Kellen Moore is making the decisions. I'm more focused on Kellen Moore than I am Nick Sirianni. Eagles fan, love your show, man. How are you? I'm going to go with we should have taken the 3 points. Fair enough. I'm with you there. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful. Hey, bonus me coming up today. I'll be on Fox 29 coming up at 7:45. And at 7:05, I'll be on the radio with my friend Chris DeGaulle, calling into him to talk all things Eagles. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel for your pre- and post-game needs. And make sure you hit like and subscribe for baseball fans. Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel. I'm on after every Phillies game, unless they're an Eagles game. And I'm breaking down the Phillies for you for a half hour after every Phillies game. Be back with you guys tonight following the Phillies and Brewers. Hopefully the Phillies bounce back from a bad performance yesterday. Thanks, everyone. Go Birds. Go Eagles. Not Dirty Birds, but go Eagles. I don't know. All right. Anyway. All right. See you guys tonight and tomorrow morning. See you then.